Hello my lovely little weasels and the amazing people of the internet. After testing Baruuk out for the past couple of weeks, I have made my perfect build. In my opinion, I have tried to do everything, and in this video I will basically giving you 12x instant, 12x combo multiplier, basically infinite amounts of energy, survivability, incredible amounts of crowd controlling, and really good damage numbers. So let's quickly get into his passive. His passive is going to be this restraint meter in the bottom right corner. Now this restraint meter is going to be lowered by your first 3 abilities, and it's going to increase a little bit with your 4th ability. Once it is fully depleted, you get 50% damage reduction, so that's why we want to keep it at 0 as much as humanly possible. The first ability is going to be Elude. You go into your pacifist mode. If you do not attack enemies, you will basically avoid their attacks, or I guess evade them to a certain degree depending on your range, and this will deplete your restraint meter. But we're changing this ability out for pull. Max pull is going to be incredibly good for crowd controlling. It's going to synchronize with your abilities, which is very nice, and it's going to be one of the ways that's going to allow you to get that basically 12x combo multiplier throughout the whole of the gameplay. Now, the second ability is going to be Lull. Now, using pull and lulling enemies is gonna restrain your meter, or I guess lower that meter, so much. This is your main way of lowering that meter. This puts enemies to sleep, makes them susceptible to finishers, but the primary way, or I guess the primary use of this, is just crowd controlling and the restraint meter. Now, Desolate Hands. It summons daggers around you that seek out enemies, they disarm them as well, they do blast damage, which is pretty cool, and each dagger is 10% power, or I guess, damage reduction, so maxing out the 90% damage reduction is really cool. Getting more is very beneficial because this does lower your restraint meter, and it also disarms enemies, so even more crowd controlling. And Serene Storm, the ultimate crowd controlling ability of Baruuk. He basically loses it, he cannot stand it anymore to be a pacifist, he wants to fist everyone to death. And I think you want to know with which build he's going to do that, and this is the build that I'm talking about. This is the build in the gameplay, and here we have just a basic setup. The arcanes are interchangeable. You can change them for Arcane Strike, for example, or maybe anything else that you want to. Arcane Energize, Prime Sure-Footed is definitely not needed with this build. You're not going to be on the ground at all because you're going to be basically killing everything that's in front of you, so it doesn't really matter. I think that this works out everything, or I guess works on a perfect way. We are focusing on power strength a lot. Keep that in mind. Do not go above 300% because then you get diminishing returns, and is not necessary. So around 300 is somewhere the sweet spot for Baruuk. Now let's talk about quickly the, I guess, melee weapon of choice. This is going to be the Warframe Prime. It doesn't matter the melee weapon as long as it's not the 10 melee weapons, and as long as it's not the glaives. So basically what you want is the gladiator set. This is going to give you red crits, keeping in mind you're not using your melee weapon to build up combo, you're using the Desert Hands. Now, what does Serene Storm, or I guess Desert Hands, actually benefit from? Here on the screen you can see it, I guess, in detail. I'm going to quickly explain melee damage, or I guess your melee combo counter, and also your melee mods on your Desert Hands or Desert Wind, which we are going to be talking about right now. This is the Desert Wind build that you see in the gameplay. Now you see one slot empty. That is because I sadly do not have Umbral Formas, and I'm guessing a lot of you don't. That's why I have a second build for that, but if you have it, Prime Fever Strike would be incredibly good, and instead of that empty slot, put in the faction specific mod, so Smite of Corrupted, Grineer, Prime versions as well. That's going to be very good. Now the second build is a little bit cheaper. Now this one's with Prime Sure-Footed instead, and as you can see we have the Prime Smite Corrupted mod on there. Still no Prime Fever Strike, but we will get there one day once we get at least one Umbral Forma. So if you have it, then it's gonna be even better, and the damage is gonna be even better for you, but if you don't, then you're sadly gonna have to go with either one of these two builds. Now, what we really want to focus on is going to be the secondary, the pet, and also the Archon shards. But before we do that, the focus school of choice. Focus school of choice is going to be Nerimon, and the only thing that you basically need here is going to be Power Spike. Now, you also can get I'm sure I get on the screen right now, the one where you ground slam with your Warframe, or I guess with your operator, and it gives you an increased chance of gaining combo, but you don't honestly need that. But if you do want to, you have it there. But let's talk about one of the key factors, if not the key factor of this build, and that is the companion. That is going to be the Panzerwolf. Now, this is going to be an off-brand Nourish. Keeping in mind, this, companion is going to be very good because of viral quills, dealing viral damage and applying viral to enemies, which is very, very good. Contagious Bond, giving it a 50% chance to spread to other enemies nearby. Synth Deconstruct, basically giving us Health Orb, and of course, with Equilibrium, we get Energy Orbs in return. That's our energy problem pretty much solved. Bite is going to increase our critical chance, which is going to be incredibly good because we're going to combine it with Tenacious Bond. Now, what does Tenacious Bond do? Basically, if your companion's critical chance is above 50%, you gain a final 1.2 times critical damage multiplier. And with Tandem Bond and also Pull, you are going to be able to basically get that perfect and beloved 12x combo multiplier basically instantaneously. Now, Tandem Bond is going to be very good because it is going to increase your melee combo counter by 6 every time your melee companion melee hits an enemy. So that is going to be very good. That's why we have Swipe in there, and that is going to help us to get that beautiful 10x. Now, keep in mind, you still have to maintain it. If you don't want to, honestly, I have noticed that it stays around 10 or 11 combo multipliers, so you're pretty much doing your full damage even at that. But the Panzer is going to be very good. The more enemies you drag in, the closer to your Panzer, which, you know, it is the companion, so you have to keep that in mind. But the closer you are, the better it's going to be, because you're going to get that extra melee combo counter. So that's going to be very good. Of course, Archon shards of choice are going to be the melee critical damage ones. Now, I do have 4, I do have Tau Forged, and I do have a yellow one giving me extra casting speed. Now, if you don't have this many red ones, you can put in either for more energy or for more health or for more casting speed. If you do, then I guess just put them on there and that's pretty much going to be it. Now, we talked about basically everything. The secondary is the Epitaph, and the main thing that we want here is just the Augur set bonus, which is gonna give us shields and over shields as well. Considering you have damage reduction, you also have adaptation, and you can also block with Desert Wind. This will give you basically just so much damage reduction and so much survivability, you don't really have to worry about dying anytime soon. Now, this isn't a solid wave proof, you can use brief respite, but I have found out that you can use this without any sort of difficulties. And how does the build work? Basically, join into a mission, gain a little bit of energy either through using your secondary or maybe making a normal melee build, and just basically all you need to do, group up enemies, reduce their restraint meter, let your Panzer do its work, attack a couple of enemies, increase it a little bit. You're gonna see it maybe go from 0 to around 4, so keep that in mind. And basically all you need to do is one ground slam where the enemies are, and you're at 12x, and just play normally. And you're gonna stay around 10, 11, or 12x throughout the whole of the gameplay. And that's pretty much it. That's all you need to do, and that's how you get massive red crits, massive amounts of damage. Now, keeping this in mind, one thing that I want to note, your damage is going to be much better if you have Nourish subsumed onto, but then you lose the lack of crowd controlling with Pull, you have to put in Cordon, or I guess Nautilus with Cordon, you lose on all of the benefits thrown the Panzer profile, and as you have seen, there is a lot of them, so that is going to be quite tricky, because then you're going to lose also that beautiful 12x combo. So do what you may please. I have showed you the way how I get 12x basically instantaneously, and this build is pretty much really good in my opinion. Hope you guys think so too. I would like to see that in the comment section down below. Do leave a like if you did enjoy it, and also, you know, subscribe. It's free completely. You know, the more weasels, the happier. Hope you guys enjoyed. It's been your lovely host, the Game Weasel, and I'm gonna be over and out.